Today, a 50-minute mini project to learn how to use the integrated assembly workshop directly in FreeCAD. I will also take advantage of this video to introduce my project methodology. Rule number 1. Always choose your external components before starting the project. In this case, for this small chest, I will use a latch and a simple hinge, very classic. There are more beautiful ones, but this is just for illustration. In all my projects, I always start by creating a file that will serve as a reference for the components. I call this file design simply. It will be an assembly that I create simply by aligning the things with the transform tool. I show the main reference, and then we will use the assembly workshop, create the assembly, and insert our different components, so we don't need to constrain them in this phase. We will simply arrange them a bit as if we were designing with paper or cardboard, just to get a rough idea of how it will be arranged in space. So here I will place my two hinges for the chest as well as the latch. So we have an idea of the size of the components we have chosen to get the proportion right, just like that, without constraint, without anything. After that we will build a sketch. So we take the part design workshop, create a body, then create one sketch or several sketches. I call this body skeleton, and we will simply sketch a very rough idea of what we have in mind, as we would do on a sheet of paper with a pencil, just to get an idea of what we want to do, what it will look like. We don't need to waste time building everything. We can just sketch and imagine what we want to do. The goal of this step in the project is to have a global idea. If we want to do more on a more advanced project, we can also use this design file as a reference, but that's not the goal of this video. We will also take advantage of this phase to take some measurements on the components we have chosen. This way we have the information for the next step, where we will create custom parts. So the diameter, the distance between faces, things like that. We use the new measurement tool integrated into FreeCAD 1, which is very handy. So this gives us, at the end, a kind of little specification sheet. Then I just realized that I forgot to leave space for a drawer in the main box. So I just trace it. Now we are ready to move on to the next phase of the project, creating custom parts. So we will design specifically for our project a few parts: a box, a lid, and a drawer. If you want to skip directly this design topic, you can go to the main topic of this video, the assembly. It starts at 7 minutes and 30 seconds in this video. To design this custom part, I will use as usual the part design workshop, then create body and use a subshape painter, and then here I will do it very simply. The idea of this video is more to see the project aspect and tackle the assembly, so I don't concentrate explanation on creating parts. Here you can see that I did a mistake. I took the radius instead of the diameter to make the latch pocket. Now I'll do the same process for the upper part, the cover. I again create a body, create a subshape builder. I sketch it very quickly, and again I use the shell feature. Here it is. Then I must drill it with a good positioning for the hinges. Now I'll do the same process for the upper part, the cover. I again create a body, create a subshape builder. I sketch it very quickly, and again I use the shell feature. Here it is. Then I must drill it with a good positioning for the hinges. Okay, I just need more dimensional information. Okay, now it's okay. Okay, it's reading M3. Now let's add two chamfer to let place for the hinges to prevent collision. Now let's go back to the main box, where I also forgot to leave space for the drawer. I'm catching up now. Here we use a reference plane. We use one edge as reference. Okay, here it is. And now the drawer. Again, it's something very simple, purely illustrative. That said, this little construction could very well be imagined as being made of wood or 3D printed. Of course, with a bit more work and care on the finishes and anticipation of the realization. Here it's really just illustrative for this video. And now, finally, we can tackle the main topic of the video, the assembly. So we will open all the components that we will include in our assembly, and we will create an empty file for the assembly. In my case, all the assembly file contain a 900 number in their name. We open the assembly workshop, we create an assembly. You see it appears in the construction tree. Now we can insert the different components. We will start with the base. We will block it this time. In this workbench, there is a fixing function that allows you to anchor the part so it won't move. You always must use one in your assembly. I will then search for my hinge element, which is already correctly oriented. The second hinge element, similarly, I position them a bit. We can move them freely in space. We will create a fixed joint. You simply select the joint tool and select two edges, and your part is fixed. This is really great in this new workbench. Then we create a rotation constraint so it can rotate. In this workbench it's called revolute joint. Here it's the same, you select the tool on the two edges we are interested in, and that's it. It's done. We move the part, then we recalculate the assembly, and then we can move the parts that are allowed to move freely simply by clicking on the part with the mouse and dragging it. Now I can add my lid. I move it a bit to access to the different edges. I will apply a joint, fixed joint again. You can see that I activate the assembly just like a body to be able to use the function with it. With the automatic constraint it flipped, so we will reorient it with the transform tool, and then we recalculate the assembly. It is correctly positioned to ensure it doesn't flip back. Then I will add a constraint between the two outer face, setting the distance to 0. So we create the distance between these two faces of 0. This way we ensure they remain parallel. And now we can move our lid. Look how beautiful it is. Now we will add our latch. What's great with this new workbench, assembly workbench, is that we can directly import the part that contains multiple body and manipulate the parts directly. So here we pre-position it. I told you I made a mistake between the radius and the diameter. We correct that now. And then we apply our constraint again. So we have either a fixed joint or a rotating joint. We need to select the correct edges. It's easy to make a mistake in FreeCAD. Let's do it again correctly with the good tools, the good edges. Here everything rotates with the latch, but it's just illustrative. Now all that remains is a drawer. Here it appears in the wrong orientation. We will flip it with the multi-transform tool. After that, there are different options. Either apply a sliding constraint or, as I did here, use two distance constraints, which is exactly the same. So we will use the side of the drawer here on the inner face of my box. Here and here. Here we go. And we will do the same process for the bottom. So this face of the box at the bottom and the bottom of the drawer. And now I should be able to slide my drawer. Oh no, I did a mistake. In this case, I took the bottom of the box instead of the edge. Well, my design is not very well done. I did it quickly for this video, but I think you get the idea. So you need to select the correct faces, and after that you can manipulate it. And here is our little chest. So this micro project is almost ready. I should add a second hinge and adjust the latch so it locks. because right now it won't look much. But here again, I think you get the idea. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to reframe my production a bit, working a bit better afterwards, and that's it. So to summarize, I also introduced the concept of a project. For me, you first need to choose the components, then make a rough design, after that create the custom parts, and then you can assemble everything. That's it.